Ladies and gentlemen, my scooter doesn't work. And it doesn't work because the stand is broken. And the stand is broken because it doesn't work. So in this video I'm gonna build a new stand that is so massive that it can even hold up your mom. But first I need some steel, and luckily this guy just has steel lying around in his garden and he gave me a little bit. He just doesn't know it yet. The nice thing about stealing stuff is that it is free and you don't have to give it back. With all of that steel in my backpack I went back home, and after a quick test to see if the stand still doesn't work, yep, still doesn't work, I started working on a new one. Well, or at least I tried to, but I quickly realized that I had absolutely no idea how to do it, so first I needed a plan. And that's what I came up with. It's supposed to work a little bit like a switchblade, where you have a button which you push and then the stand deploys. And to reset the stand you can just push it back like any ordinary kickstand. And that is exactly what I did once before, but I was lazy and 3D printed it, and as you could imagine, the first time I dropped the scooter, the whole thing broke. And that's why I'm in this situation in the first place. But before I could do anything, I first had to clear the metal from all the mill scale and rust. And that's when I learned that mill scale is actually stupid hard to remove, and it will just destroy your grinding discs. Or maybe I just have cheap ones, I don't know. Then I welded those two sheets together to get one thick piece of metal, because I want my stand to be so strong that it could never, ever break. And welding those two pieces of metal together to get a thicker piece of metal just feels a little weird. The weird feeling is mostly my lung though, so it could just be all the fumes that I inhaled. And here's a little trick that I learned. Instead of painting the outlines of your parts directly onto the metal, print out your plans, they just need to be dimensionally accurate, and then cut out the individual parts and use that cutout as a stencil to spray over with any kind of spray can. And then you have the perfect outline of your part onto the metal, which you can just cut out. Now watch this motion tracking shot. If that's not clean, I don't know what the fuck is. And if you think I'm here actively cutting off the welds I made before and everything will fall apart as soon as I'm done, then you are correct. And that's also why I'm sitting here like an idiot and welding everything back together. And then I welded the housing and the lever. And Big Sun doesn't really want you to know this, but instead of going outside to get a tan, you can actually just weld without safety gear, which is a much cheaper and faster alternative. With all of the parts finally done, I drilled the necessary holes, or at least I tried. Bro, this shit doesn't work at all. Fuck. After regrinding the drill bit, it worked way better. So I drilled the rest of the holes too, and that looks clean. Then I just filed out the notches with a hand file. And I don't really know what I was doing here, or what I was thinking, or if I was thinking at all, but watching it in editing, I feel just as dumb as when I made it. I didn't have the right size spring for the mechanism, but what I did have is this piece of spring steel and a dig with just the right size. Damn. Then I put it all together for a quick test. The second time I put it together, I used two nuts to secure the spring in place, and it worked flawless. That's crispy. I mean... Whew. I handled the shaft a little bit to see if it's sturdy, and that shit will never break. Then I had to get rid of the old broken stand to replace it with the new one. I was just trying to figure out if the new stand fits at all before I paint it, and it looked to be fine, but as you will see later, it didn't really fit too well. I decided to paint the whole thing chrome because it looks cool, but I will regret it later in the video. Also notice my painting setup, which consists of one flower growing aid, which is curled, one flower growing aid, which is straight, and one flower growing aid, which is green. Not gonna lie, I think it looked better before. Kind of regret painting that, it looks like shit. On a paint can it's like chrome, but it's It just looks grey. I don't know, I think it looks like shit. It looks really bad. After the paint dried, I tried mounting it to the scooter, but the bolt was too long and I can't really shorten the bolt because I still have to fit a nut on there. So I did this. I know it looks like shit, but I didn't want to re-weld the stand, and if you look at it from the top, you can't really see it anyway. Then I put everything into place to see if the rest works. And it did. And then I just had to add the 2 springs and tighten it all up. I put a goob of grease in there not only because it helps to lubricate the whole thing, but also because it will stop the mechanism from rusting inside. Not only does it work smoother than before, you can actually hear the difference. Let's see. And even though I'm still disappointed with the color, I have to admit that in the sun it looks a lot better. It's still not chrome, but at least it doesn't look grey anymore. And there is not really a lot I can say about the function except that it works perfect. It deploys smooth, it retracts smooth, like it's just, there is nothing I can say about this except it works. And after my test drive was done, I went back home to check if everything was still working, and there was absolutely nothing to complain about. I even did a quick strength test where I jumped around on the scooter and then I kicked it and whatever, but it is solid steel, like I would break my leg before I could break this thing. And overall, I'm extremely happy with it. It might not be a big thing, but it is extremely convenient. And it is also nice to look down on the peasants with their normal ass kickstands.